Welcome back, everybody. This is Late Call Cajun&TheCheesehead. This week, we're going to be talking about London and the NFL. And maybe not just London, but just the NFL expansion internationally. I mean, definitely we have this week with the Jets and the Dolphins our first London game of the year. There is a second London game going on later this year and everything.
It's three, right?
It could be. I thought it was only two.
Is it maybe next year when three starts?
I think that's three because I believe the Packers play next year.
Okay, yeah, that's beside the point.
Yeah.
It's definitely becoming more of a ingrained thing, I guess, within the NFL to have these London games.
Just kind of expect them more.
And I'll give the floor to you and ask you, how do you feel about that? What do you think about it?
You know, I have a pros and the cons of it. Pros, being an NFL fan, it is pretty awesome to know that you can watch football from 8:30 in the morning until like 10:30 at night. And that's just the central time zone alone. You know, depending on which time zone you come from, you know, it's obviously going to be different. But point being, it's pretty cool that like the moment you wake up to like the moment you go to bed, you just watch football all day. Great.
Con, if you're a night owl, this is not good at all.
True. That is true.
If you have an early morning fantasy player, it's not great. This is all personal quibbles. Nothing that actually holds any legitimacy, in my opinion.
The actual con that I want to do, also from an NFL fan, is I know they've been slowly integrating this for the past few years now and everything, and usually they pick two teams that, to be, I guess, blunt, don't have sold out stadiums. Maybe not the craziest, biggest fan base going out there. And I already mentioned that, you know, Ted Thompson already announced that they made an agreement with the NFL that the Packers will be playing in London next year. And also as a fan, do you really want to take that away from your fans? Obviously, the NFL schedule isn't out yet, so we don't know if this is a home game or an away game. If the NFL scheduling was smart, it'd probably be an away game because Lambeau Field has been sold out for, I don't know, the past 20 years straight now. Lambeau Field is always sold out. And I don't want to use just Packers as an example. Let's say you have the Cowboys. Let's say you have the Patriots, the Steelers. You know, four huge names with a giant fan base across America. And you're going to take away, even on an away game, and you look at this past week, the Packers were in the 49ers, and by the end of the game, there's more Packer fans in the 49ers fans than
that was
49er fans.
We didn't talk about that, but quite honestly, that was damn embarrassing.
Yeah.
If you're a 49ers
I remember
fan.
as soon as the kickoff came out, I saw a lot of red in the stands. And I was like, oh, okay, you have a solo crowd. Then I realized once they zoomed down into the crowd, a lot of those red was the red seats because only half of that stadium was filled. Only half of it. By the end of the game, it's probably a quarter of it. And so, you know, by the time that they're, you know, by the kickoff, you're already half 49er fans, half Packer fans. And you don't even have a filled stadium.
You think that's a reason why they paint seats team colors so on TV it looks like people are still there?
I'm sure. I'm definitely sure. Yeah.
I never really thought about that before, but yeah,
I'm convinced.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
You know why you don't see that at Lambeau? Because
they should have like
bleachers, which are silver.
Yeah, the only stadium left, right?
Yeah, the only stadium with bleachers.
If they were smart, they'd make like armrests and paint them like skin colors. Make it. Anyways, no. What I want to say though is, on the topic you're talking about, Lambeau maybe having one less game, and you're naming all the big teams. But if you're trying to make the push into a new market, those are the teams that have to play there.
It's true.
They're going to have to have Pittsburgh.
That's why it's a really hard topic. Because I do agree. If you want me to be honest with you, if they really want to push a great game, like the Packers and the Patriots, like, you know, if you're going off this season alone,
sure,
Packers and Patriots go to London to play a game. Packers and Steelers, Cowboys and Patriots. Who else is huge? I mean, Cincinnati and Carolina go to Broncos and Atlanta. I'm just pulling out all these undefeated teams. I guess minus the Cowboys, but
Right.
um, you know these huge names that have been with a giant following. If you want to have a giant game, like you basically have to have the equivalent of Sunday Night Football Sunday
Right.
morning. In
Right.
London,
Uh,
and I understand why they're pulling these big names because of it.
Here's my opinion on this whole thing. For the most part, if they have a game at 8:30, yeah, it was kind of cool. I wasn't really mad. But I didn't have anything at real stake in it. If you're taking away a Saints home game, to me as a Saints fan, of course I'm going to be pissed. And you know who else is pissed every year? The big sources controversy, the backbone of the NFL. Now, not the network deals, obviously, not the TV deals, but as far as the live gate, what they're making at the games, is the season ticket holder. And season ticket holders are pissed that they're getting less bang for their buck. And I think that's a legitimate point of view. If you're going to have one less home game, then they should not be allowed to charge the same amount as every season.
True.
If they're not going to have that home game.
That's what I'm confused about too. Season ticket holders for every single franchise. No matter what, one team is always going to be the losing end of that home team, and all of your season ticket holders. What do you do with that money? Where do you give it back to them? Do you give them a discount to the rest?
That's what they should do. It's not what they're actually doing. Now, and here's the thing. All right, let's say we give you a ticket. All right, this ticket applies to London all of a sudden. Like, let's say hypothetically they did that. You could go to that game. Well, these stadiums don't match up. You can't overlay the setup of this stadium on top of this stadium. And the seats don't match up. Where the hell are you going to sit? Doesn't even make sense. Like, that's a lot of work. Could it be done? Sure, it could be done. But they'd have to do that for 32 teams.
Yeah.
And realistically, I don't think they will. So, I don't think they're going to hire someone to put in the work. That's what they should do if they're going to go that way. But even that's not really a perfect solution, because how many season tickets holders are actually going to travel to London to go see a game? Now, personally, if I was a season ticket holder and then the Saints games, if I had the funds, I would be like, oh, well, this is the perfect time to maybe go to London. I can have something to look forward to if everything else sucks. I can at least go watch a football game. So that I've already paid for. So
right, yeah. If you just happen.
But how many people can do that?
Yeah, that's because if you just happen to have that kind of money, that's awesome for you. But realistically, as football fans, that's a very small percentage of people.
Although if you're a season ticket holder, you're already pretty dedicated in the funds category anyway, so it might not be that much of a stretch. You're already spending a pretty penny on your tickets already.
Yeah.
So, another thing that they're talking about doing with London is obviously, I don't think it's like the worst kept secret in the NFL that Roger Goodell wants a London team. And I think there's a lot of legitimate gripes about this, but this is how I think you could make it work, and it's what I actually think is probably going to happen.
Okay.
The Jacksonville Jaguars do not sell out their stadium.
No.
Ever. And they have a foreign owner. I forget what his name is, but the guy's he's maybe one of the most receptive owners to probably, at least on paper, to having an internationally located team. So this is how I think that would work. The big problem with having a team in London is
scheduling.
How do you recruit? Scheduling, and how do you recruit players? What about practice squads? What are you doing during the off season? I think you could have Jacksonville. Let's say it's now the London Jaguars. You keep offices and you have access to a practice field in Jacksonville still. And so during the preseason, when you're trying out new players, you can bring them there and you do all your training in Jacksonville. But then once the season starts, you relocate over to your home field in London, and that's where you play your home games. And I think that's probably what's going to end up happening. Honestly, it makes sense. It's the most... I've thought about this, and if you have a different opinion, feel free to leave it. If you think there's a better idea other than no London team, which I think is the best idea too, but I think this is the best idea to make it work. You take a team like that, there's still a connection to the Jacksonville crowd, and the biggest problem, of course, anytime you relocate a team, is all of a sudden the season ticket holders or season ticket, they're screwed.
Yeah.
Because they're not interested in this team anymore. So maybe that would be some way. You might keep some of the fans interested, like, oh, well, they're still kind of practicing here, and I don't know. I'm almost inclined, if I'm thinking that's going to happen, to buy season tickets to Jacksonville, because I think that once they move to London, those tickets are going to be at a premium. They're going to be in high demand. If they move a team to London, you can make a profit off of that. So anyone that's got a little bit of funds and some entrepreneurial spirit wants to take a gamble on my advice, I am not liable in any way for any losses incurred. But I think if I had the money, I'd do it. I'd give it a shot. I think it's going to happen. I mean, it's like I said, it's the worst kept secret that they want a team in London. So
yeah.
It's going to probably happen, and sooner rather than later. So how's that going to affect scheduling?
About that. Jacksonville does sound realistically. As of right now, there are 3 franchises that want to move, which is Oakland, San Diego, and St. Louis. All 3 of them want to go to LA though.
San Diego does not want to move. The owner might be wanting to do it, but I don't think the fans want it. Anyone else? True. The players. The owner, I think, is even maybe I kind of think that the LA is used as a sub. I don't know if any of the owners actually want a team in LA, because they always use it as leverage. Like, well, if you don't give us what we want, we'll just move our team to LA. And so as long as there's not a team in LA, that's a real threat. Because think about it, like the cities, the people of that city want to keep their team, so they'll vote to pay a tax to rebuild these new stadiums or give them whatever they want.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like this. It's like they've got them at gunpoint, like, do this or we're gonna kill you. It's like, if you don't vote for this tax, we're taking the team to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I think the owners like that leverage too much. And maybe a team will end up there, but I'm not entirely convinced that any team's going to end up there, honestly.
I am. I think eventually, in our lifetime, yeah, I think a team.
Oh well, yeah. I'm talking about like in the next couple of years.
In this decade, probably not.
Yeah.
I got 2 kind of things.
Some fan base. St. Louis is actually probably the most likely to me, since they have that connection there. Yeah. The St. Louis fans. St. Louis is a huge baseball city, more so than a football city anyway. Not saying that there aren't huge Rams fans, but there's a hell of a lot more St. Louis Cardinals fans.
Yeah.
And if there's any team that says, you know what, F you, we're not going through with this, we're not paying taxes for a stadium, it would probably be the St. Louis fans.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Well, going back to the original question of how I feel about this is, let's say Jacksonville does go to London and everything.
Okay.
And I said this earlier.
Do we name them like the silly nannies? Like this?
Oh, I want. Speaking of which, it's still a reference of all of that. It would be funny if one of these years that the Patriots do go to London to play. Like, it'd just be like almost perfect in a way.
Right.
And just have them play just the worst team, just to really show it's like, this is American football,
Yeah.
That would be pretty funny.
It's a Family Guy reference for anyone that's
right. But it's almost like most realistically could happen now, if anything else. Anyways, I will say one thing is fans in the United States, despite to whatever franchise may move there, that's gonna screw a lot of things up. Right now, if any team's playing there, it almost screws some home team out in any way. But all of that being said, I think if realistically a franchise would move to London, that I still think there's going to be a huge scheduling confliction because, how do you put that? Like, okay, let's say hypothetically, due to scheduling, that you take just any team. Let's say Denver Broncos. Okay, I just picked a random team, top of my head.
Right.
Let's say Denver Broncos has 1 week Sunday, Sunday during like 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock game or whatever. Next week they do a Thursday night game, so already a short week. Then you go back to the Sunday schedule. Then the following week you have a Monday night game. Then go back to a Sunday schedule, and then you have to fly to London. And granted, yes, it's still on Sunday, but wouldn't any London game would just be a huge disadvantage to any opposing team? Because
I think they're going to have to make it a rule that if you do not go to Sunday in London if you played a Monday night game. I think that should be a rule.
Yeah.
Like,
you're gonna have to figure something because, like, honestly, any opposing team going to London is just automatically like you're having a short week, like anyway.
Honestly, the best way to do it would probably be if you're gonna go to London, you should play Thursday night the week before, and then you have a long break before you have to, so you can get settled and get everything going. I don't know if they can make that an absolute rule, but it should be an absolute rule that you never go to London after a Monday night game.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. That should never happen. It'd be like. It's like you don't play Monday Night Football and then play Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, that should never happen. And honestly, I think the best way, and there's going to be a lot of players are not going to want to play in London just for that reason.
Right.
Like, they're not going to want to be on the London team. And some players, especially younger guys, might be more willing to do it. Like, yeah, cool, I'm down for this adventure. Let's go to London,
Yeah.
And a lot of veterans that are settled in their teams it's going to be hard to attract veterans to London, to put it that way.
I mean, maybe not if they want to, like, they bring their family and let's go visit London.
It's going to be, I'm talking about to play on the team. Like, I'm talking about, it'll be a lot easier to get young guys to go to that London team as players to be on that team.
True.
Than it will be to get veterans that are, established in their city.
You have to move to a whole new country.
Right.
Yeah, that would be hard.
Right.
Yeah.
And which could actually benefit them because they're probably going to need to, whatever team that gets moved there is probably going to suck anyway. So they're probably going to need to build a team. But, the biggest way I think to fix that scheduling is there's probably going to have to be a streak of home games in a row. And then whatever London team, if it is the Jaguars, like I think it'll end up being, they're going to have a long streak of road games that are just going to suck.
Yeah.
Like, you might get 3 or 4 home games and then play 3 or 4 road games. Like, there's no way that they can just go back and forth every week because that's just not realistic. That's the players are going to be exhausted. They're going to be jet lagged. There's going to be a sorry team. I just don't see how you could play good football if you're constantly flying across the Atlantic Ocean every week.
Yeah.
So it could work. Another interesting thing, since we spent a lot of time on London, if you want to talk about this, is there's actually been talks of moving the Pro Bowl to some international locations.
I agree with that.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah, maybe keep it interesting. And Brazil has been talked about.
Yeah.
I personally haven't done enough research. Mexico has been talked about, and Germany has been talked about for games. And I don't know how much of a following there are in these countries. Mexico actually makes a lot of sense, I guess. But I guess
that's a hard subject too. Just because, like, the point of Hawaii was to give everybody a vacation.
You're right.
And everything.
Right.
But then on top of that, like, at least the people who watch it, like, it's still among the United States, so you're gonna have fans somewhere.
Right.
Like among the Hawaii, or again, how we talked about, like, if you have the funds, it's awesome to go to the Pro Bowl type of thing, but obviously not for everybody.
Right.
Now you move to Germany or Brazil, even Mexico, maybe.
See, here's the thing: there's still
local.
There's still touristy locations there and things that famous things that people would want to do, and I think that you're probably going to see a shift of it being just a tropical vacation locale like it has been, to a combination of an international, I guess, like promotion. A big show.
Yeah,
like an international promotion and like not necessarily tropical, but and a vacation spot as well. Because London could potentially work. A lot of people want to go there. You could potentially put one in Germany. I actually think it's not the worst idea. Well, Mexico, I don't want to go into politics by any means, but Mexico, I think, is a fair statement to say, not in the best shape right now. And so putting a game there, are the stadiums up to date? How?
Yeah, probably one of the best places to go is Cancun, but I don't think they have a stadium right
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Like, do you really want to go to Mexico City? It's like high elevation, polluted. I don't know. But the good thing about like a Brazil or Mexican location is that the time zones are pretty much the same. So at least the games wouldn't have to be as vast of a difference. The players wouldn't. The jet lag wouldn't be as bad. Instead of having to adjust to this, oh god, I'm in a new time zone, like 6 hours ahead, 6 hours behind, whatever, back and forth. You're just sitting down for a while, basically.
Yeah.
And it's still going to be the same times that you're going north south. So it's not nearly as bad. So I think that might actually get, if you can get a stadium that's like state of the art, might be less controversial going north south than east west.
As much as we talked about the different locations, and we come out from like our perspective of the fans, like in the United States. One perspective that we didn't come out of is I don't think the NFL would be still promoting, especially in London, if they didn't see it following. And we've been seeing for actually the past few years that over at Wembley they have sold out crowds pretty much, to watch these games, and that surprised me the first time I saw it. I'm like, why are there so many people watching this game? Like, they didn't care about American football. I was wrong about that. And
there is a good amount of fans. And then you've got a lot of you got Americans abroad too that are going to be a big part of the fan base.
That is very true. What I got to experience this my own firsthand, and I'm gonna make a big shout out to my Irish friend who I met this past summer. His name's Gareth, and hey, if you're watching, hopefully you are, because big shout out. This guy is from Ireland. He came to the United States on holiday and everything, and I never watched American football in his entire life. Within the 2 months that he was visiting here, he became a giant Green Bay Packers fan. And just absolutely love football. And like it got to the point, he's like, I'll watch Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, it's all football. And I'm like, well, don't you have football? Or what we call soccer here. It's like, well, he's like, I don't give a fuck about it. It's like, because they're pussies compared. His words, not mine. His words. These guys are pussies compared to what I'm watching right now. And I was like, that's fucking cool. And I think a big thing in Europe, which is why I'm actually kind of back in the NFL, is that I think a lot of people around Europe would really appreciate American football if they took the time to watch it. And it's almost like us to like cricket. You know what I mean? Like, do we watch cricket? Like, why do we watch cricket?
We have baseball.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the biggest parallel would be rugby then. There is definitely a rugby audience internationally.
Yeah.
And football kind of fits along in that same vein. So I could definitely see it being popular. Ireland, I think, is a little bit different from a lot of Europe. I know they have like soccer fans too, obviously, but I think they have like some of their own sports, like Gaelic sports. I'm far from an expert, but I do know that's a thing, like a sport called hurling, and I think I don't know how big rugby is in Ireland. I'm not even gonna try to.
It's pretty big.
Okay, so it's a big Irish sport then. So I could definitely see there being a hunger for football. And to joke about stereotypes, Irish might be the closest stereotype to Americans in that they like to just go get drunk at the pub and fight, right? So football is the perfect sport for that. Backdrop, have the football game on the TV, and let's start a fight in the parking lot. I feel like the Irish and the Americans are the two nationalities that can appreciate that mentality more than anyone. So
I mean, you go out there, you punch each other in the face, you have a beer, and hug each other the next, 5 minutes later.
Maybe, but yeah. So
I do think that there could be calling. I think that if it's broadcasted enough, they can slowly catch more interest over to maybe get a wide enough audience that they can constantly maybe get sold out, like stadiums per game that will be a home game, whether it's in London or Germany. You mentioned
Germany is actually the most curious case to me. I could kind of, I guess the reputation the Germans have, I could kind of see in football catching on in Germany. I just have no idea. When I saw that, I was like, wow, really? Is it popular in Germany?
I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe so.
What I do know is apparently there are Packer bars and Steeler bars in Russia.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Of all places, why? Too. First of all, I don't even know how they broadcast the games. I don't know where they're getting the rights.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of it's satellite or they're just streaming it illegally.
Yeah,
but satellite. I'm sure there's some kind of extended because you can get cricket here on if you pay for packages and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I'm sure they can through the satellite. They can get NFL Sunday tickets somehow.
Right, something similar. So.
But that surprised me big time. So there's places that you wouldn't expect. There's still small amount of fans of American football, and I think there was just a report. Was it last year or maybe 2 years ago that apparently soccer is one of the fastest growing sports in America for popularity.
Right.
And we could be seeing the exact same thing over in Europe right now too. It's just it's gained a big interest of soccer here in the States. And
I don't want to go into this thing. I'm not a soccer fan.
Neither am I.
It would be real easy for me to shit on soccer. And I'm going to a little bit right here, but of course it's one of the fastest growing sports because it wasn't popular at all. So how fast can hockey and baseball and basketball and football really be growing? So that's sort of like a asinine thing to say to me. That I get why they use it for promotion reasons, but no shit, it's one of the fastest growing because it's got room to grow. How much can football really grow? But whatever.
Other than going to Europe, I guess.
Right, exactly. How much more can it grow in America? It's number one,
I really don't know the answer to all this.
This is a lot of speculation. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see how it all pans out.
Right, exactly. I really don't because it's almost like as a business standpoint, it makes sense.
From our standpoint as a fan, I couldn't I don't give a shit if it's popular in Europe.
Yeah,
I'm watching it.
To be completely honest, I'm in the exact same boat. I could give a shit less if we have a team in Europe. I really couldn't because it's the national and American football leagues. That's what it came out to. And realistically, we didn't touch on this a whole lot. I know we're kind of getting out of time here, but
we're almost at 30. So.
If we really, really wanted to expand. Why not Canada? Why is that not?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about it. I think they've tried to do that. Buffalo plays some home games in Canada, so I think the closest that we were coming to a Canadian team was actually when Buffalo was up for sale. And since that didn't happen, I think that it'll be a good deal longer before we actually have another chance at potentially having a Canadian team.
I mean, I know they have CFL, but I mean, let's be honest here, the CFL and the NFL are not even contenders to each other.
Tier.
Right.
And I guess the last interesting note is please don't add more teams to do this.
No.
That's the biggest thing that I'm worried about. I do not want to see more teams.
I 100% agree. Because here's the thing. Our system is perfect right now.
Right.
32 teams, 16 in each conference, 4 in each division. Perfect.
Right.
It all makes sense. If the thing is, if you're going to add one team, you might as well add 3 more to make it 36, and then it's still not even in each division. So don't add more teams. Don't make this shit complicated.
Don't screw that up.
Yeah, just keep it at 32. Just if you truly want another team, then maybe talk about selling a franchise and creating another team from scratch. That's what I would rather see, to be honest.
But no one wants to see that happen to their team, so.
Yeah. No one does. But if you want to go down the grand scheme of it, it's when
I would rather have lose a team and add to keep it to 32.
Yeah.
And there'd be 33 or 34 teams or whatever.
Yeah. Or I'm even talking like you could even keep the same name but just sell it to a new city.
Right.
And consider it a new franchise, but it's under, still. I was gonna say the Browns, but unfortunately,
It already happened
to
to the Browns.
I know that's. I think that's why it was the easiest solution to go to them.
Right.
I'm sorry, Browns fans. That might be.
Well, all right, the Oilers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's a good example too.
that's actually an odd situation. I guess we'll end this note on. It's a little bit random, but the Oilers became the Tennessee Titans, and so the Houston Texans don't technically have the Houston Oilers history the Tennessee Titans do. It's weird. It's weird. Like all the franchise records and team records, the Titans have the Oilers records as their records, not the Texans. Isn't that strange?
That is strange.
So, anyway, all right. Well, I think that's about it, man.
Yeah, I think that's. There was a lot of stuff to talk about on this topic. This topic has no right or wrong answers.
Yeah, we could keep talking about it.
Yeah, honestly, we could go for hours and just go on tangents and tangents. But we want to hear from you on these tangents. Like we've been saying all week, we have a new Facebook page, we have a Twitter. Tweet us, comment on our Facebook page, comment on right here on YouTube. Go ahead, tell us your opinion. We would love to hear about it. I would love to actually respond to a lot of your comments and really see what the consensus of what other people have out there. We have talked about a lot of stuff that from every perspective that we could potentially maybe talk about it, and this is something that I can't say is necessarily in motion, but it's
in motion. I will say I think it's in motion, like soon, maybe not this year, but it's happening. Yeah. Something's happening.
Give us your feedback, because we would love to hear from you guys. So
yeah.
And we were gonna have another late call double header, I guess, this week, so we can take care of that.
And we're working on another little special that's maybe a little off topic.
Off topic, we're going through everything. We're gonna have a lot more videos this week. We're gonna keep going every week, and we hope to still see you come in and, I guess, listen to what the hell we have to say. So, bravo. Good job, guys. Good job. You made it 30